So we should be recording now. It's the first time that I've done it this way, so hopefully it will work. And if it does work all right, then when I've recorded it, I'll try and find a way of uploading it on YouTube. I've never YouTubed before, but I'm sure I'll manage it. Then I'll just have to find a way of letting you all know where the link is. I'll pass it round as much as I can, maybe, and get people to put it on WhatsApp groups and things like that, so that you can find it, and hopefully it will work all right. So it's a bit of a challenge, this. I'm working on a couple of different PCs, because as I'm sharing my screen in Teams, I can't see the chat, so I'm logged in on another machine so I can see the chat. Yes, Mark, everybody's email is all over the place, unfortunately. Everything is just completely and utterly shot. I've no idea what's going on. Communications has not been clear as to what's going on, as to how soon everything's going to be working. So I suppose there's a couple of things that are kind of important. First of all, the submission date for the assignment, I've pushed it back by a week, from the initial 13th to the 20th in the first instance. Hopefully things will be up and running by then, so everybody's able to do it, but we'll play it by ear and do whatever it is so that it works all right for you, so that you can get through it. The other thing is, of course, you can't access any of the materials on Blackboard either, which is great, and I can't access any of them either, and I can't access any of my original files either. So what I'm doing, I'm going to restructure. Yeah, well, I guess the second assignment get pushed back as well. The trouble with the second assignment, of course, is we don't want to keep pushing that back too far, because we don't want to end up in when the next module started, really. But I'm more than happy to push it back. Oh, people downloaded some scrolls. That's handy, so that's good. Yeah, so it is hugely challenging, and we can only do what we can do to try and get through this. That's right. There would be very little gap between the two assignments in grammar. I appreciate that, but I'm just conscious that you've got another module coming up as well. And I don't want everything to overlap too much, but I'm happy to push it back anyway. That's certainly not a problem as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, so I haven't got any access to anything that's coming up. So effectively, let's think of finding ways of sharing other stuff. I could maybe try Dropbox for sharing other files. I'll have to have a think. It's a challenge to find the best way to actually push things around so that everybody can get access to them. But I will do my utmost. Anyway, so what I was going to say was, what I plan to do is, if you haven't downloaded SPSS, which you can download it, but don't you need access to, Lucy, don't you need to access to download it via the university's website? I think you can perhaps download a trial version, but I don't know from SPSS, but I'm not entirely sure what you get with that, having never done it. But clearly that is something of a problem. Yeah. But Lucy, did you download it originally from the university website? Yeah, unless it is down on your own system. You need it on your own system, otherwise it won't work. Yeah, so you've got it. So you've already downloaded it. That's the thing. No, Citrix wouldn't work at the moment. That is definitely a thing. So if you haven't downloaded it already, then that could be a serious problem, and we'll have to think of a way around that. Perhaps if I say that if you haven't got access to SPSS, if you could let me know, best way of letting me know, and if you haven't got email, unless you've got a personal email account, and you could let me know that way, so I can work out what to actually do about that, because that is a huge problem. So anyway, yeah. So because everything's sort of not there or disappeared or what have you, and I haven't got access to the original files and all that sort of thing. And to be perfectly honest, I wrote them a while ago. So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm writing a live seminar for Friday that I plan to be an introduction to qualitative methods, because that's what we're doing in the last 2 weeks. So I thought it would be good to perhaps introduce that this Friday. Then next week I will talk more about IPA and particularly about the second assessment. So that you can feel a bit more comfortable about that before the final week, because before we know it, we'll be in the final week, and so I want to get you in a position so that you can get started on the second one as well before things really get out of hand. You never know; they might solve it all tomorrow, but I'm not confident, to be perfectly honest, because nobody said that they're near to doing it. Okay, so today what I want to do today is I want to answer a couple of questions, or a question at least, or a couple of questions that were in my plan for last Friday, the one that I had to cancel. No, there's no stats at all in the qual assignment. No stats whatsoever, Aparna. So it's just to answer that one, no stats at all. Okay, so there were a couple of questions I was going to answer last Friday, but of course didn't get around to, and I haven't got the presentation that I was going to. I can't exactly remember what those questions were, apart from I know that there was certainly something about sphericity, and so I'll just briefly talk about that. And just to maintain the bandwidth, all right, while I'm doing this, if you can make sure that your cameras are switched off, so that because if cameras go on, then that can give problems with the bandwidth. And likewise your microphones as well. Any questions, if you bang them in the chat, which at the moment seems to be working all right on 2 computers, because I can see that, so that's all right. Okay, so there was a question about sphericity. Let me just see, how do I get to the next screen, next slide? What is sphericity, and to try and explain it. So sphericity is a particular assumption of the repeated measures Anova, and it's quite complicated really, but in its simplest form, all we need to think about is the fact that these scores in different conditions in a repeated measures design study is that the scores correlate with one another. And if you remember, when we did the paired samples t-test, and when you do a paired samples t-test, you get a correlation between conditions presented as part of the output, as per the little table that I've got up there. And I suppose the next question really is then, why do we get that? And the reason that it gives us that correlations is because we anticipate that experimental treatments will always affect everyone more or less in the same way. And I don't think that's not gone on to the next slide. I don't think it's gone on to the next slide, has it? Ah, no, it hasn't. Just a minute. Oh, come on. Why hasn't that gone on to the next slide? Now I don't know. Why is it not doing that? Hey, it's got moved. It'll probably jump around all over the place now because I was going backwards and forwards. Let's hope that it doesn't. Experimental treatments are expected to affect everyone in more or less the same way. So I've just got participants in condition 1 and condition 2 here. And this is, imagine you rank order their scores. Partition 1's got the highest score, participant 6 has got the lowest score in condition 1. Well, you'd expect in condition 2 that they'd be more or less in the same order. As you can see here, participant 3 is now 5th in condition 2 in terms of rank ordering of their scores. And you always get this, you never get a perfect correlation between scores in conditions, but there should be a correlation generally. The order of the scores should be more or less the same. Is there anybody else who can't see anything? Trang's just... No, it's just you, Trang. Okay, so at least it's not me, it would appear. Okay, so you expect more or less that it's going to be the same. And that's if you've got a two-condition study, and this simply then extrapolates over multiple conditions. So here we've got condition 1 and condition 2, but I've added in condition 3, where you've got a bit more movement between people. But actually, there's probably still a correlation here that's going on, because if you look, 2 is still before 3, 4, 5 and 6. The orders change slightly. 1's before 3, 4, 5 and 6 in condition 3. The orders changed a bit, but they're more or less in something like the similar rank order. Anyway, this is effectively what's going on in the repeated measures situation, where we've got more than two conditions. We expect there to be a correlation between scores in the different conditions. And the idea of Morkley's test of sphericity is that it tests this assumption that there are correlations between all the different conditions. As I say, this is a simply put way of explaining sphericity, but it's more or less what it is this idea of correlations between them. And the reason that the assumption's there is that it's thought that if these correlations don't exist, then the output of the repeated measures Anova might be wrong, and therefore a correction is made in terms of the output. And the adjustment is made by changing the degrees of freedom for the test of significance. And lower degrees of freedom mean that you need higher values of f to reach a significance value of p less than 0.005. And so that is the point of sphericity. And there was another question about the different coloured squares, circles and triangles in the SCORM that I think related to this. And the whole point was this idea of showing scores that were either in the same order in different conditions or in different orders in the different conditions. Okay, so let me try and see if I can... Oops, didn't mean to do that. what I want to do, there we go, see if I can go to SPSS to demonstrate this. Okay. So what I've done here is I've just created some data in 3 conditions. And I'm going to run a repeated measures analysis of variance on this data. So click on Analyze, General Linear Model, Repeated Measures. I'll reset it so I can do it all. So within subject's factor name, I'm going to leave that at factor 1. Number of levels, so this is the number of conditions we've got. So we've got 3, so put 3 in there. Click on Add. And now I can define what those 3 conditions are. Maybe. There we go. So where we've got here within subjects variables factor 1,